we're so early with AI and with copilots that it just has to get better. The Microsoft Copilot is really good. It won't give you the perfect solution, but it's very good at giving you a head start.
We cannot expect 100% the perfections for the generating the result. I wish we could.
What are some of the tips and tricks that you would share with them to say, okay, well, now I've got Defender, what are some of the things I should be keeping an eye out on using day to day?
I just want to say KQO, it will be one of the powerful feature in order to operate your day-to-day security operation.
Historically, in cybersecurity, there's been this approach to having different vendors for all the different platforms because we don't want all our eggs in one basket. That doesn't really help. Hey everyone, Ru Campbell here for ThreatScape, and today I'm joined by Kijo Girardi. We're going to talk about all things to do with Microsoft Defender, some of the work he's done and published on GitHub, and then his day-to-day life at Microsoft working on helping customers with Defender. So let's get to it. Hey, Kijo, thank you for joining us on ThreatCast. It's good for you to join us from Japan. There's a little bit of time difference, so I appreciate you making the time for us. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you for inviting me today. I'm really excited to come here today. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Good stuff. Well, listen, I'm very excited to talk to you. Just before we started recording, we were already kind of geeking out about some of the work that you do and the stuff. The reason I came to know you, you work on MDE Tester and some of the stuff you publish on GitHub. I'll tell you what, maybe if we can introduce yourself to our listeners insofar as the work you do, Microsoft day to day, could you maybe give folks a little bit of your background?
Okay. All right. So first, let me introduce myself. My name is Kijo Girardi. I'm working in a fast track team Japan at Microsoft. So specifically, I'm focusing on the E5 security product to help the enterprise customer, to deploy these product every single day. So mostly I spend time for the deployment phase to the adoption, like more operation phase. So every day I join the customer's call and then assist how to configure Defender, how to onboard Defender, what is the tips or security concern, providing best practice. So that's my daily life.
That's great. And I'm going to pry into that and try and get some good tips out of you, because one of the things that I try to tell folks when they're deploying Defender, or really any of 365 security, is the deployment, that's just the start. And what you then have to do is you then have to operationalize it. You can't just turn it on and forget about it. And so with that in mind, when you're helping customers actually start to use Defender, what are some of the tips and tricks that you would share with them to say, okay, well, now I've got Defender, what are some of the things I should be keeping an eye out on using day to day?
I would say, first, I really agree with what you said before. So onboarding the Defender or like enabling some product is just the beginning. So it's not the end of your work in IT world. Like just onboarding the Defender is a beginning of the security world. So that's why, again, first you have to onboard Defender, and after, what they have to do is, of course, deal with the incident response every single day. So what I mostly tell the customer is, you need to think about daily life operation process. Otherwise, even you deploy the product, you cannot really use effectively. That's why, first, what you have to think about it is, of course, deployment. But same time, you have to be aware of how to manage the product with their own environment. So first, think about the process is really important. The other one is really think about the worst case, how they can deal with it. It's really similar what I said, think about the operation flow. So that's what I can recommend after they onboard it. So
yeah, no, it's a good point. And I guess one of the things that you publish some stuff in the community for and that you share on your GitHub and on LinkedIn, Twitter, X, places like that, is you do a lot of work around advanced hunting, KQL building, things like that. And that's one of my experience is when customers maybe start using Defender for the first time and you show them advanced hunting, they get quite excited because all of a sudden, if I've never had an EDR before, I get so much more visibility than I maybe previously had. And I was wondering if you could maybe share, in terms of advanced hunting, KQL, what are some of the tips and tricks you would share with people to get started with that kind of thing?
Okay. So first, advanced hunting, it's actually also quite new for me. When I look back 2 years ago, I had experienced this Defender world since it is called Windows Defender ATP. I think 3 or 4 years ago. It's also I started as a freshman. It's my journey began like that. So of course, everyone, if they go inside a Microsoft world, especially for the cybersecurity, the KQA is quite new for everyone. So they don't know what to do. So me too, I'm one of the people. Okay, KQO looks like SQL. Okay, deal with the data, but I don't really know like what to do in the beginning. So what I have done was first you need to learn the syntax. It's really basic, same as other programming language. You need to know how to write in this case, like writing the syntax, a grammar, otherwise you cannot write what to do. So I would say the basic is really important. And also I went through some the recording done by Michael Melon in the product team. It's really a long time ago, but there are 1 to 4 webinars. I went through everything. So just first, I try to focus on the syntax. And the next is what kind of data you want to take it. Because I see the number of the customer, they're really good at SQL or they know that the basic, the KQL, but they have no idea what to do. So the question is, what kind of data you want to know? A great example is you look at the data detection alert. Okay, what kind of data you want to see more? You received some mail, it's suspicious. You want to know that which kind of the sender's IP coming from, like this IP is suspicious, or how many recipients received the mail from the same IP address. You want to know that beyond the GUI. Of course, we are providing the great insight each alert, but you want to know more than that. So it's really essentially we are looking at what advanced hunting, what hunting is for. Because we have the two mostly ways for advanced or using advanced hunting. First is proactive hunting. You want to proactively hunt some suspicious activity. This is exactly what you want to hunt. And secondly, this is a great, I gave the example, you want to get enriched data beyond the GUI, not only the level of the alert what we are looking in the Defender portal. So if you have these two ideas, you know that what you want to take it. Then if you also know that the syntax, how to write the KQO, then you can customize or you can get what you want. So you cannot really go to each master of the syntax, a master of what you want. So you need to equally get these two concepts. And then after you will get the data what you want. So that's I always give the tips to the customer.
It's a good point. And I love the point you mentioned where one of the reasons you might start playing with KQL and advanced hunting, maybe if I'm at the very beginning of my journey, is if I get an alert in the GUI and I want more information, right? Because the GUI, it's inherently limited, whereas with KQL, there's so much more stuff in that background and in that schema, right? So I can really go into far more detail. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. I think so. Also, I'm not really sure this is really the real use case for the advanced hunting, but my personal experience, since I could write the KQL without any problem, I can really handle the data what I want, then I could sometimes use for the troubleshooting. It's for example, testing some indicator or web content filtering, which is really one of the core feature in the Defender for endpoint. You want to know that whether really block it or how we are blocking each categories. You want to track. We have the reporting capability, but they're still not really real time. It's day to day, you have to wait maybe half of the day or depending on the tenant, I'm not really sure. But the KQO is the language, and then the advanced hunting is the place where the defenders gather the whole raw data from each component. If you're using Defender for endpoint, of course, endpoint table, email tables, application as well, and Defender for ID. So I'm not saying that really real time, but it's happening at least within 5 minutes. So that's why when you want to track the device activities, you can write what you want and then check it and then identify whether it's really working well. Even the Defender connection, the device really connecting to the tenant. It's we can check the internet connectivity, browser tracking, each history. Also the device really data itself. We can look at it everything what we want. So that's why, of course, mainly we are going to use it for hunting, but also since I know that these part every day, my daily life for the using the Defender, much convenient than before.
Yeah, it's a good point. And one of the advantages of Defender for Endpoint, gathering all that telemetry, is you can use it for more than just security incident response, right? You can use it as a troubleshooting tool. And I guess you have to be careful. You have to have guardrails in place to prevent abuse of things. But another good example of that would be, the Threat Explorer in Defender for Office 365, right? It's quite good for troubleshooting email problems because it just gives you so much more data. And I guess to that point, KQL, it's worth learning because it's not just limited to Defender, right? KQL, if someone is interested in learning it, they can use that over with Log Analytics. They can use it across Microsoft products as well.
Exactly. As long as you stick to the Microsoft solution, KQL is, I would say, universal, the eco, it's really useful for the whole platform. So super convenient. So now unified XDR SIEM experience coming. So it's really game changer, right? Because previously Defender ATP in this era, so we are looking at the endpoint tables only. But after 2 years ago or 3 years ago, we called it Microsoft Threat Protection. That means other tables are coming from the email application and identity. And now, the Sentinel is coming. So that's why the capacity, the tables that we can use dramatically expanded. So that's why, if you don't know the KQL, I really recommend going that right away. Also now we have the strong supporter, Microsoft Copilot for Security. So we can even ask how to write the KQL. So you won't have to write the KQL as a scratch. So someone give the Copilot give us some tips. So that's why I just want to say KQL, it will be one of the powerful feature. I mean the part that in order to operate your day-to-day security operation.
Yep, good point. And you're so right about Copilot, because I've been using the Microsoft Copilot that used to be called Bing Enterprise Chat, even before Copilot for Security was released, is really good. It won't give you the perfect solution, but it's very good at giving you a head start. So if I have no idea where to start, I could just say, hey, can you tell me how to track this type of change? And it does quite a good job of at least pointing you in the right direction, and then you tinker with it to get it exactly how you want it to be.
Definitely, yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, I think so, because just Copilot is, I'm not really hate, this is not the hate, but just we cannot expect 100% the perfections for the generating the result. I wish we could, but of course we can use that as the data, and then we can fix it depending on what we want. So that's why using Copilot is really, really helpful for the security operation, especially for the hunting.
Yeah, definitely. And it's not exactly an original thought of mine, and folks say it all the time, but we're so early with AI and with Copilots that the only way, it just has to get better. So over time, we will see it be more specific and more accurate. And in the meantime, it's just a case of using your human judgment to kind of accommodate that. And I'll tell you what, kind of speaking of constant improving of things, one of the things we were talking about before we started recording was a tool you developed called MDE Tester, and that has kind of branched off to another piece of community-based work you're doing called Research Dev, which is all about helping folks understand how Defender would behave in a real incident. Could you maybe talk about how did these come to be, and then how are folks finding them helpful?
Okay, yeah. So first, let's start talking about the MD Tester. So MD Tester is a PowerShell-based tool to test the Defender features. I started developing this tool from the web protection mainly. The reason why I created was one day I was testing the smart screen, network protection, web content filtering, and the indicator, mostly for the URL. So both are related to the testing URL, right? It's really straightforward how we test it, because we just type the URL and then go to the Chrome or the Firefox Edge. But it's really time consuming to validate whether it's a read block or allowed it for the whitelist. So that's why I was thinking, why don't we create the tool, just run the tool and then launch the browser and accessing all the URL while we specify. If you want to test the smart screen, just select smart screen and the browser launched and then accessing the whole smart screen testing URL. What about the indicator? Just take your indicators list from the portal with a CSV file and then just specify the CSV file and then just access all the URLs. Same as the network protection, since we have testing URL, just access this URL. So after you run it, you don't have to click and then launch the browser, like not so much human interaction. Just run the tool and then you can see, obviously, whether it's blocked or not. And then also I added some hunting query to track these history. So that's the beginning why I created this tool. And now I also created some MD tester for tamper protection. Tamper protection is also same idea to simplify the testing each features. But since then, I decided to shift this idea to the research dev is another repository, because previously when we are looking at testing only Defender specific feature, it's like more pen testing, whether this feature is really enabled or not, like working well or not. But what I have to focus is the real threat around the world. And I want to provide the real case study, detection to everyone. Like we want to tell everyone like how our Defender and the SIEM experience are much stronger and better than the other product. And also we have the much protection. So that's why I decided to start a research dev repository. And then I listed up from the simple attack to the a bit complicated attack. And then, of course, we are not only showing that this attack scenario, but also I captured what kind of alert was generated, how we correlate the number of the generated alert into the single incident. So that's why I kind of created this research dev. And then just now 5 scenario, but I'm going to also increase in the future little by little. And then, so the research dev is again, this is a place gathered many simulation method. And then there's another repository. It is called the research note. It's writing the many blogs like based on the simulation, while we can discover what's kind of the data we discover, how many alert generated, what's come the alert you will be able to see. It's really writing the more incident report note. So that's the whole idea, how I created the MD tester and then after changed to the research dev.
It makes sense because, I loved MDE tester, but I guess it's more comprehensive to apply a real world scenario rather than just checking configuration, right? Because one of the things that is quite useful after you deploy Defender for endpoint or any other endpoint protection platform is throw some real threats at it so that you can understand. It's almost like a war game simulation, right? Where, hey, the portal has lit up with a whole bunch of alerts and incidents. How would I respond to this if it was real? So I guess, is it fair to say that then folks can then use that to skill up internally and become better because they kind of know how to respond and things like that? Would that be one of the use cases for it?
Yeah, I definitely, I think so. Everyone can use it for deal with it, instant response. But same time, I think also they can use it for evaluating the product, evaluating the detection, because by using the simulation first, before response, they can check the detected alert and incident. So they can really see that real experience. The great part is, I'm sure a number of the security product generated alert, but what we want to emphasize is correlation as part of the XDR. We are going to correlate the different alert and event. We are binding each event and an activity, and then we are going to judge as a XDR, extend detection, the response capability, and then after just combine the alert and event, and then make it into the one incident. The great part for the research dev is most of the attack are correlated chronologically and also the each event. That's why if everyone goes to the research dev, or even not only the research dev, when they are testing it, or maybe seeing the real world attack, I see the number of the alert will be correlated. So in the end, I just want to show to everyone that the correlation as well, because one of the objective is I want to also show that not only the detection, also the XDR capability. We are correlating the alert into the single incident. So that's the point I want to say that. So in short, of course, they can use it for the incident response for the skill set purpose. Also, I want them to experience that the real XDR, like combined all alert into the one single incident. So that's I think that my feeling.
Yeah, no, that's really good, and it's great that you put that together because it is. And I guess there are other XDR platforms out there, but if we're just talking plainly, and the reality is Microsoft have got the broadest XDR platform that is probably out there in terms of the amount of areas that they can tap into. You get Defender for cloud apps, for example, that can pull data in from SaaS platforms all the way through to Identity Office 365 and endpoint. And it is one of the, I guess, to me, it's almost like we're making it easier for people who aren't security experts to get all that data, right? It used to be, for example, I would have to go out and I'd have to get a third-party email protection platform. I'd have to go and get a SIEM. I'd have to tie these up. I'd have to go and get an antivirus. But the advantage, and I guess the selling point and the marketing point behind XDR is there's less tuning required to get all these things, correlating signals, publishing those as single incidents. And you can improve it yourself, like we mentioned advanced hunting, but you still get a lot of value from day one. Is that right?
Yeah, yes. First, I can say that even like you said, first, not only the Microsoft, even other companies, I don't want to say the name for now, but just I can see the number of the security company shifting the single solution to the more correlation, like some companies start maybe the SIEM solution, and also endpoint solution, email solution. They'll try to combine because nowadays we are looking at it. Cyro is not the good best of the breed because we want to combine the XDR. Microsoft is one of the companies, so that's why I can see the trends. Many companies are shifting to the providing a single solution to the multiple solution. Even the recently, I see a number of the company also spending that MDR, like managed detection response part. So it's not only the partner, they try to start their first party solution. So I really can see that this is a trend, to be honest. Also, but at the same time, this is really correct in terms of the security. I'm not saying that which product is better or not, but just in terms of the cybersecurity, Cyro is, I don't really see that any so much good point, at least from my experience. That's why I can see that the number of the company are shifting to the multiple solution, like a more XDR. And I really like it. And also that's why Microsoft as one of the company looking at XDR, and then now we combine the XDR and then SIEM. So, and then also they spending more detection. Previously, we are looking at, for example, EDR. EDR is a great capability, but nowadays we are looking beyond the EDR, which is automatic attack disruption, focusing on the containment. So that's what I can see that the recently in the security trends.
And that's a great segue because automatic disruption, it to me, when I'm explaining that to my customers and I'm telling them, hey, what is attack disruption? It's the automation of the response and extended detection and response, right? Where we can now contain users, contain devices, lock users, et cetera, and again, it goes to that point where you mentioned historically in cybersecurity, there's been this approach to having different vendors for all the different platforms because, quote unquote, we don't want all our eggs in one basket. That doesn't really help when you look at it based on the current state of things because it slows everything down, right?
Yes, I really agree with this part because when I'm delivering customer for the XDR, always ask customer. Also, I'm talking, this is not only the specific Microsoft, like if their customer using product A for the email solution, product B for the endpoint, product C for the identity, then my question is, how you guys correlate each incident or activities? Okay, you got email threat, but how do you know how to research these email attack connected to the endpoint? What about the endpoint? After the endpoint, what's kind of impact or activity further ongoing in the identity? How do you investigate it? They said sometimes they research one by one, or they use the SOAR, or they really combine, try to somehow sending a load to the SIEM. But I really feel like, aren't you tired? Is it really difficult? I think it must be so time consuming. And most of the customer commonly say yes. So I really can see that also they do want to shift to the more XDR, not specifically Microsoft, even other companies like a competitor. That's why, generally speaking, looking at multiple different vendor to protect each part is not really trend. Like what we have to look at it, like we need to entirely see, like we need to expand the visibility for the cyber attack from the email to the cloud application in general, like everything. So I really see this is a kind of the trend.
Yeah, totally agree. And it's what we're seeing as well, insofar as, at ThreatScape, we don't just sell, we don't just do Microsoft, we do all sorts of vendors, but based on just the feedback from our customers and what people come to us saying, it's that they really like the kind of the simplification, number one, of the licensing, but then number two, of the response capability, because it's, if you have a serious incident, it's all about that time to respond, right? And the faster that you can detect that noise and then kick the bad guys out, or at least hit the pause button on that attack, the better you're going to be. And, jumping from portal to portal to portal, signing into all these different security vendors. And even if you do have lots of different vendors and you kind of unify them over a SIEM and a SOAR, that's an increase in the time you've got to spend on that, right? It can be quite resource intensive. And again, it's quite a specialist skill, right? Whereas at least if I go in and all in on Microsoft, well, it's one skill set to learn. It's one kind of set of licensing I need to worry about. To me, the story makes sense.
Thank you so much. Yeah. One of the things I see a bit the difficulty is, like you said, if the customer using another product, like a multiple product, they have to go in each portal, like product A, B, C, D. This is correct. Microsoft, nowadays, we just integrate it into the one single portal, like a unified SIEM and XDR. But looking back 3 or 4 years ago, we have Security and then Compliance Center, Defender portal, not each portal. Yeah, and then the Sentinel, technically, Microsoft has a single solution, but we have the individual workload portal. But now we combine. But another challenge is how we can manage it. That's a question. So it's we are going back the first question why you gave me that, the one tip is, after you onboard it, you have to deal with it. What kind of option do we have in terms of the response capability? If you're using an endpoint, maybe related to endpoint capability, such as isolating device from the network or collecting the package, the current in the file. But what if you have the email solution? What about cloud application? Even you have the Defender for Identity connecting at a hybrid environment. Maybe we can even disable the AD account. And then if we have the product, maybe of course we can use automatic attack disruption. So the point is, after you onboard it, we need to really understand what's kind of option, what's kind of solution, what's kind of the protection we have. We need to really, really understand the whole product. Otherwise, you cannot really fully leverage this product. But that's the challenge. So, and then one other stuff is, it's like a portal or interaction. Not really sure as a product, but when I joined Microsoft security, I was so shocked because when you click the portal, go to another page, and when I clicked again, it's go to the more detail. If you are quite new, it's quite hard to manage because it's so massive, the portal interaction. But if you familiarize it, or if you are accustomed to using it, it's a really game changer. It's more, you feel convenient, comfortable. But I think the challenge is, you need to really spend time for using the portal. Otherwise, you don't know what to go, or you'll be lost in the portal. And then that's why I just want to add 2 tips for the first question is also you need to know that what kind of capability you can use in your environment. And secondly, spend so much time for the portal to familiarize the portal interaction. So it's quite dramatic.
It's a good point. It's a good point. It's kind of like, if you take something like Formula One or racing, before you do the race, you do laps of the track nonstop until you understand it and you know all the turns. It's kind of like, as soon as I get Defender and I log in the security portal, I want to click around everywhere and figure it out so I can navigate it nice and quick. Right? That's in my head kind of translates.
I really understand at this point. Yeah, it is not about only the security. I personally play this both. So before you, for example, run, you need to know that what course you are going to run. Otherwise, you don't know the feature and any the difficult part. So it's really understandable, this part. Yeah.
Absolutely. Cool. All right. Well, listen, thank you again for joining us. It was great to chat with you. And what we'll do is we'll share links to research devs and things like that in the show notes. If folks want to find you online, if they want to connect with you on LinkedIn or Twitter, where can they find you?
I think I have X and Twitter. So yeah, Twitter is also available. Also LinkedIn available. But just please send me any feedback. I'm happy to hear the feedback.
Awesome. Good stuff. Well, again, thank you for joining us. It's been great to chat with you. I guess for our listeners and our viewers, make sure you follow us on YouTube, all the other podcast platforms. Give us a like, comment, feedback, all that good stuff. Obey the algorithm, as they say. That really helps us out. And thanks again for listening. We'll catch you in the next one.
Thank you. Thank you so much.